Welcome back to Access Daily. Vanished is a new docuseries about the 2013 disappearance of 20-year-old Heather Elvis. Heather's sister Morgan has been a longtime advocate for her sister, and she joins us now along with her brother Chris, who has never spoken publicly about Heather before. Welcome you both. Thank you so much for coming. What are your memories of Heather?
Man, she was just so full of life. I'd say she was one of my best friends before all this happened. Constantly heckling me on social media, always posting, sending me pictures of her face. I have a lot of really great memories of her.
Y'all were close.
Yeah.
I think we all were. I always like to say, for myself at least, there was always a time before Heather and a time after Heather for everyone in my family, but by the time I was born, she was already here. So my whole life was just her. So we were the closest of siblings. We had a lot of fighting, as siblings do, a lot of bickering, but she was my greatest support system and an inspiration for me. For sure, I followed in her footsteps on a lot of things.
So, obviously, this is the unthinkable. Mm-hmm. But how did her disappearance affect both of you?
It affected me a little bit differently. So I was in Ohio at the time, and I got the phone call from my dad saying they had found her car. And I had this immediate feeling in my gut. I was like, something bad's happened. So I'm picking up my phone, I'm calling her, it's going straight to voicemail. Get to work. And I had to leave work. I became too emotional to be there. And so it was rough. For the first couple of weeks, I kind of shut myself in, and I didn't talk much to anybody. I confided in my dad a little bit. And then after those 2 weeks, I kind of just pulled myself back out of like the rut that I was in and move back forward, going back to work. And it was rough.
Well, I can see that it's still rough, Chris. Why did you decide that now was the time to speak about Heather?
I had, something recently kind of traumatic happened in my life, and I decided that whenever that happened, that I didn't want to have this like victim mindset anymore. And also, I knew that Morgan was going to be coming out and potentially doing stuff by herself, and I was like, I want to be there for my sister. I'm going to be there for my family. And I didn't feel like that it was fair that I got to spend so much time so far away from it and so far removed from this situation that, I didn't get the same backlash that they got.
Did you all know at the time that she was having an affair with Sydney Moore? Was he even on your radar? Had you heard about him?
So I actually had Sydney's phone number in my phone, which is still a thought that seems surreal to me. With my sister and I, we always had a pact that we would always tell each other, and I think it's very important for anybody who is a young female or male out in the dating scene. You always have somebody know who you're going to go see, and you have their phone number, and you know that that's who they're talking to in case something does happen. Right. And so I had his phone number. I had never contacted him, never really knew anything about him, and I certainly didn't know that there was an affair going on. To be honest, I don't know that she knew that in the beginning either. As a young 20-year-old, all you really want is to be loved. Right. And so all I knew about it was that she was seeing this wonderful man that she was so happy to be with, who cherished her.
I know the social media attention got to be a bit overwhelming and must have had a huge effect. In the process in this documentary, I'm sure, was both probably therapeutic and incredibly difficult to deal with. After all of that, what is it that you think happened to Heather?
I think that's a really loaded question. There's a million different things that could have happened, and that's the problem, is that it still is the unknown. And we haven't gotten that closure because we don't know the facts of the case. We only know speculation, circumstantial evidence, what we've heard in court, and what's been laid out behind closed doors. I think that me personally, and of course I don't speak for everyone, I certainly don't speak for my whole family, but I hope that we find her one day and that she has been gone all this time, because I would hope that she hasn't been out there suffering. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But I can't really speak to what I think really happened, because I think that would be a far stretch of the imagination.
What about you, Chris?
I think from pretty early on, I felt like I wasn't ever going to see her again, and that something terrible had happened. I couldn't say exactly what. I can't really speculate, but I do feel like, I'm never going to see her again, that she's been taken from us. And,
Did you ever meet Sidney or his wife, Tammy, and were you happy with their convictions?
I didn't ever meet either one of them, and I was happy with their convictions. It brought a little bit of peace to know that they were going to be, behind bars for a while.
Would anything change for you if her body was found? Would there be more closure? Would that close this chapter, or would it always haunt you?
For me, finding her wouldn't change anything because, like Chris said, she was taken from us and nothing will ever give her back. The damage has been done. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding there where people think that a conviction or a found person is the closing of a case, but it's not, because a family has been broken and a community has been shattered. And those are the hard realities that we have to live with, is that even when we find someone, even when we can lay them to rest, the pain prolongs.
But I did hear you say that you have forgiven them. And is that more for yourself, that you have actually forgiven Tammy and Sidney?
Absolutely. In my victim impact statement when I was about 17, I looked Sidney in the face in the courtroom, and I made sure that he knew that I do forgive them. And I think it's twofold. One, I don't know them as people well enough to judge them based solely off the worst thing that they ever did. And so I can't say as a human being that I hate them or that I hold any animosity towards them as human beings. But also, in a world that continues to take from you and that has already taken so much from my family, and I've watched them just suffer at the hands of, forgiving them allows me to say, you can't have any more. It allows me to not live my days full of anger and resentment and hatred, and I get an opportunity to continue to live my life and to take Heather's story and be that voice and talk about all the good that can come out of this and not the bad that is keeping me from living my life.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, how does it make you feel to hear her say that?
I'm okay with it. I understand where she's coming from, and, I haven't forgiven them, but that doesn't mean that, my sister's not allowed to have her own opinion and to forgive them and feel the way that she feels. And I fully support the way that she feels. And, I think that that's a really big, a really big step on her part. It's bigger than I can do.
And I think that's an important thing, too, is that forgiveness is a choice that you have to actively make every day. And sometimes that's hard for me to make. And I've been making it every day for years. And so even if he never gets to the point of forgiveness, or people at home or my parents never get to the point of forgiveness, that's okay, too, because people heal in different ways.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very mature approach. What would you say to people out there who are maybe questioning or who are concerned of why you're here today to speak about your sister Heather?
I just want people to know that, I'm here to advocate on her behalf, because she can't speak for herself, so someone else has to. And my sister's been doing that for the past decade. I haven't really been part of that. So I thought that, now was a good time to put myself out there and bring myself into the fold, I guess.
Morgan, I have to say, in watching this documentary, you so eloquently, with such poise, really, you are your sister's voice. And you did a beautiful job sharing the joys and what kind of person she was. And it really is very moving.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here today. Thank you so much. Morgan and Chris, Vanished, the Heather Elvis case airs on Prime, Apple TV Plus, and YouTube March 10th. We'll be right back.